Good evening. How is everybody doing this evening? Welcome. I'll give just a minute for other people to join the room. And then we'll get started. Are we live? Yeah. Yep. Okay. Just checking to make sure we're live. And we are. Okay. All right. Giving it 2 minutes for some people to come on. People are just logging on right now. I see that. Okay. All right. We've got some people have already signed on, so let us get started. Good evening. Thank you for joining our first CB Pet Market webinar of 2022. Tonight, we will be learning about CBD, CBG, medicinal mushrooms, and hemp oils. I'm Claudia Loomis, president of CB Pet Market and your moderator for the evening. I am joined by a pack of experienced pet nutrition and wellness experts from Primal Pet Group. Taylor Haynes, Lexi Fountas will talk us through our pet's endocannabinoid system and the importance of keeping it in balance to optimize health. Emma Cumber, Primal's veterinary outreach coordinator, will come in at the tail end of our presentation to help answer your specific questions. Together, these ladies have over 20 years of pet health and wellness experience. Before we get started, I'll give you a rundown of what you can expect from the webinar this evening. Our formal presentation will last about 40 to 45 minutes. During the presentation, we will ask a number of poll questions. I promise they'll be easy to answer. You will see the questions come up on the right-hand side of your screen. I have our first question appearing now. If you shop in our stores, please let us know where. And we are allotting time, as I said before, we are allotting time at the end of the presentation to answer your specific questions. We're saving all the questions for the end. However, you can type your question in the chat bar at any time during the presentation. All the questions you chat in are coming directly to moderator me, and I will read them aloud for Emma to answer. If we do not get to your question this evening, or if you have a follow-on question after the presentation, you can email me directly and we'll do our best to get your questions answered. Finally, everyone who is participating in this evening will receive an email with a recording of tonight's webinar and a special promotion from our friends at Primal. With that, I am going to turn the presentation over to Taylor, and I am going to ask our next poll question. Our question is, how many of you have used CBD or CBG products with your pets? Give another second or two. Okay. Oh, okay. All right. It looks like about 64% of our participants have used CBD or CBG, and 35% have not. And that leads us to our very next question. For those of you who have not yet tried CBD or CBG supplements for your pet, what has been your hesitation in giving it a try? Are you unsure of how it works? Confused about the different varieties and options? Worried about the price point? Or something other? And if there's another reason, you can type that into the chat bar. Give another second or two. Okay. So 30% of our participants this evening are unsure of how it works. 50% are confused about the different varieties and options, and about 20% are going to be typing some things in the chat, which we'll get to. But Taylor, why don't you take it away from here?
Yeah, definitely. So these are the products that Primal offers in our CBD and CBG line that you guys are looking at on the screen right now. Hopefully, as we go through this presentation, we can clear up any confusion you guys have about these different products and how to select the right one for your pet. But before we even dive into that, I'd love to talk to you guys about who we are to begin with. Some of you guys may have recognized our name, Primal Pet Foods. We used to just sell pet foods, and we were focused specifically just on raw diets for your dogs and cats. As time went on, we started to evolve more into just introducing fresh food to our companion animals. So maybe some goat milk, broth, toppers, anything like this, just to get fresh food back in their diet. And then we started to realize that that isn't the best option always for every animal out there, but we still wanted to be able to provide high quality human grade ingredients with really, really great sourcing to these pets that is still going to help alleviate their health, bring up that happiness, help with some issues that are on the side. And so that's kind of where our evolution and mission got started. But before we dive back into these products and really talk about them, we kind of have to understand the whys and the how these supplements are going to help your pets with these issues they may be experiencing.
Okay, and that brings us to our next poll question. How many of you have used CBD or CBG supplements with your pets and have not seen the desired results? Okay. Okay. All right. Things are keep changing a little bit on the answers, but 60%, 66% of our participants have never tried it, but it's split between the ones who have, whether they've seen the desired results or not.
Okay, that's perfectly fine. And honestly, it's totally normal. A lot of the times we hear that either you did see them or you didn't see them, and there gets a lot of returns. And for those of you who haven't tried it yet, we want to make sure that you do see those desired results. So what we're actually going to talk about is the endocannabinoid system and how these supplements are working with your dog and cat's bodies. So this is a system, the endocannabinoid system, that started being studied in the early 90s. So it's fairly new to us. But what has been found is it's a building block system that helps create balance between our immune system, our pet's immune system, and their nervous system. What's really amazing is these pets' bodies naturally create cannabinoids that help build up this ECS, is what I'm going to call it because it's a mouthful. But these cannabinoids that the body naturally creates help build up this system, and so it can support the nervous system and immune system. What happens though is those cannabinoids start to get depleted when things cause imbalance. So most commonly we see inappropriate diets leading to allergies or inflammation. We can see aging in our pets. So when those cannabinoids start to deplete, we might see pain, problem with muscle movements, maybe some stiffness happening. And that's okay. Some of these things are natural, like the aging. The food we can kind of change, but if we can help it from a different source, that would be great. So what the hemp plant does is it naturally creates exocannabinoids. So the three we're going to talk about today are THC, CBD, and CBG. And these are cannabinoids coming from outside of the body that can help recreate balance for our pets. They're going to help build up that cannabinoid system to help support these results that we want to see. The thing is, if we're not using these as often as we may need to, we may not see those results.
Okay. So that brings us to our next poll question. For those of you using these supplements, are you using them daily with your pets or on an as-needed basis? Daily or as needed?
Well, that's not budget. Oh, there it
goes. It's budget now. Okay. Very good. Give one more second or two to answer. And we're back to almost 50-50. Some participants daily and some as needed.
So what I wonder now is, for those of you who have been using it daily, if you guys are the ones who are seeing the results, and those of you who are using it as needed, if you're the guys that maybe aren't seeing the best results. What's really cool is we've actually found that daily supplementation actually really builds up that ECS better. It's kind of like dehydration when we start to think about it. So when we experience severe dehydration in our bodies, we might experience a headache and dizziness while we also have dry skin or chapped lips. So what do? We grab some water and we drink it. Right after drinking it, we're going to see some results with our headache or dizziness, but it's not until we're really drinking our water daily for a couple weeks that we start to see better results in our skin or our lips, with our body getting hydrated again. That's exactly how I want you to think about these supplements. If we're using them daily with our pets, what that ECS can do is it can grasp on to these endocannabinoids, those building blocks, to really build it back up again so that we can see the desired results. If we're only using them as needed, what they're going to do is they're going to cling on to those couple building blocks that they're getting and just hold on and hope that eventually they build up enough to be able to see those results, but they don't always. How often are our pets actually in optimal health to make sure that saying that ECS is perfect and their bodies are completely balanced? Not very often. So daily supplementation is going to be super, super important. Really, you're typically not going to see the best results unless you're using them daily for about 2 to 4 weeks. That's a long time that we have to give their bodies to adjust. If we hit that 4-week mark and they're still not seeing those results, it is okay to go to the next dose that's seen on the bottle or the package, whatever you still have. Just because every pet is different in the way that they're going to use these, they might need a higher dose than the one suggested. It's just a guideline. So just keep that in mind as you're buying these products and trying them out with your pets.
That brings us to our next question. Do you know the difference between marijuana and hemp? Give it another 15 seconds as the answers change. Okay. 60% of our attendees believe they know the difference between marijuana and hemp, and 40% are unsure or do not. And I apologize, guys. The first few poll questions, I wasn't displaying the answers. They're displaying now. So for the rest of the presentation, you'll all get the results of the poll questions. So, okay, go ahead, Taylor.
So there's some no's out there. So now that we understand kind of how to use this product, let's talk about what we're giving our pets. That's going to be a huge thing, because the biggest misconception out there is what these supplements is getting our pets high. So both marijuana and hemp come from the cannabis plant. They're just two different breeds that we're looking at. So marijuana is bred to have more of that endocannabinoid that we mentioned earlier, THC. This is that cannabinoid that causes that psychoactive effect. And marijuana, typically recreational, is bred to have about 20% or more. But it's important to note that if it even has more than 0.3%, it's not even considered federally legal, and we cannot use it in our products. So instead, what we do is we use hemp. Hemp is bred to instead have higher amounts of those endocannabinoids, CBD or CBG, and has to have less than 0.3% THC in order for it to be considered federally legal. And that is what we're using in our products. So you don't have to worry about that high effect happening with your pets.
Okay. And that brings us to our next question. Have you heard of the NASC before? NASC, National Animal Supplement Council. Yes or no? Okay. 70% of our participants are not aware of the NASC.
Okay.
And the work that they do. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm surprised by the 29% who are. Those are the guys, I'm going to guess you're doing a lot of research out there, which is really great. I'm going to be honest, before Primal started selling supplements, our CBD and CBG, I had no idea what it was. But I do now, and that is because we are members. So the NASC is the National Animal Supplements Council, and it's whose guidelines we're following. It's important to know that there isn't really any, or there's very little guidelines on pet supplements out there and what can go into the bottles, what claims can be made, things like that. And so what the National Animal Supplement Council has done is they've created a really amazing guideline book that we have chosen to follow. So by doing this, we have said that any claims that we're making on our bottles or our packaging are true. Our labeling is meeting these guidelines. We're subject to testing. So all of our products have been tested to make sure that our processing, our sourcing, everything is squared away and of the highest quality. And by doing all these things and following their guidelines, we are posted on their website saying that we are members. And we have also earned that quality seal that you can kind of see up in the corner of that slide. It says coming soon. We've passed all of our testing. Oh, thank you. We've passed all of our testing. And so what this means now is that that seal is actually going to be on our bottles. So even the bottles that don't have it still pass because they did random testing of what's on the shelves in the stores you're shopping at, and they pass. So futuristically, past, present, we're all following these guidelines. You'll start to see those seals on the bottle as well. And this is kind of, again, our full lineup and breakdown of the products we showed at the beginning. And actually where Lexi's going to take over from here. She's going to go over our canine CBD and CBG oils, our canine CBD chews, and then our feline line of CBG oil and CBG chews too.
Okay. And that brings us to our next poll question. Has anyone heard of CBG for pets before? Okay. Okay, I'll give it another 10 seconds. And okay, Lexi, you have your work cut out for you. 82% of our participants this evening have not heard of CBG for pets before.
Well, I'm very excited to talk about it and let everybody know. It has some really amazing benefits, and it's probably one of my favorite products that I use myself. So, alrighty. Okay, so for new or even existing pet parents, choosing a format and which supplement can be confusing or even intimidating. So I'm really going to go through what each of our products do and how it might be best suited for your pet. All right.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so let's kind of talk about the key similarities between CBD and CBG, and then I'll go through the key differences. So key similarities, as Taylor talked about, they are both less than 0.3% THC, which means that they are federally legal. They're both sourced in the USA. They both support the pet's endocannabinoid system, or ECS. And this is something that's really cool that I like to highlight. They can be administered with or without food. The molecule size is small enough that it's easy for them to break down. Some brands do not recommend giving it with food, but this is something that we do with both products, which is really exciting. And then it can also help relieve stiffness and manage stress as well. Now, CBD is going to be great for that rapid absorption effect. So great for those high stress situations or pets that need that outward calming effect. And then it's also got that added immune support, which I'll kind of dive into further as we get further into the slides. CBG is fantastic because it's not going to be drowsy. So it is non-drowsy and it doesn't have that outward calming effect. So it's going to be fantastic for those lower activity level pets or ones that might not need that calming effect every day. It's also going to be a great appetite stimulant. So fantastic for senior pets, pets going through chemo treatment, just anything really to kind of entice them to eat. This is a fantastic supplement for that. And then it's going to be great for those smooth muscle movements. So dogs with IBS, cats with IBS, IBD, pets with urinary tract issues. It's really going to help support in a lot of different ways.
Okay. Is it time for the next slide? Our next poll question is, are you excited to try a chew or an oil? Which would be best for your pet, a chew or an oil? We're looking pretty 50-50 so far.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Oh. Okay, I'll give it another 30 seconds for responses. Okay. All right, it's about 60% chew and 40% oil.
All right. Well, now I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into each so that way you can kind of tell which might be a better fit for your pet. Okay, so starting off with our mushroom and hemp oil with CBD in it. First things first, it's going to be broken down based off of breed size. And this is going to be for the canines, the one that I'm going into. So small, medium dogs, large dogs, and giant dogs. Instead of having to remember which milligram size you get, it's really going to be really easy to remember, oh, well, I grabbed the blue one the last time I was in. So that's a nice point. Now diving into some of the benefits of it. One, it's fast acting. So it's fantastic for those high stress situations, going to the vet's office, fireworks, anything that really causes a lot of anxiety for them. This one's going to be great. I usually add it right in with her food for my dog, and it's fantastic for that. It's going to have immune support. So it's got chaga mushroom extract in there, which is fantastic for that immune support. And it's going to be paired with vegetable glycerin just because that's the ideal carrier oil to be paired with that chaga mushroom extract and also the CBD. And then this is going to have that calming effect and also help manage stress. All right. And then moving on. Next, we're going to have our mushroom and hemp soft chews with CBD. Now, this one is going to come for small, medium, and large size dogs. And they're going to be duck flavored. Duck we found is just most palatable for them, was highly requested. Now in here, the immune support that I really want to talk about is our 5 mushroom blend. So that's going to consist of reishi mushrooms, mesima, portia, turkey tail, shiitake mushrooms. So that blend's really going to kind of come in and help just kind of help boost that immune system. But what I really, really want to focus on is the KSM 66 full spectrum ashwagandha extract that's in these. Now, what ashwagandha does, and I'm not sure if anybody has heard of it before, but what it does is it lowers the cortisol levels in the brain to help reduce stress and anxiety. So something that's really, really cool across the board that I didn't really know anything about until our supplements. So diving into it, there are a ton of benefits for it. But these are going to be great. Again, that fast acting, help promoting relaxation, managing stress, and then the immune support with that mushroom blend as well. And then this is a super easy chew format as well. So it's going to be a bit of a softer chew that you can give them really easy. I give it to her after her walk in the morning sometimes if I choose to go with the chew format. Now going into CBG, I'm really excited to talk about this with you. So CBG, one is going to be for cats and dogs, so cat specific. But going through, same thing, small to giant dogs, and then a cat specific one. Now, again, it's going to be non-drowsy. It's going to help stimulate that appetite. And then it's going to have that smooth muscle movement support. So great for pets with IBS, IBD, urinary tract support, kidney infections, bladder infections, all of that. Something I also really want to focus on is that our CBG has that USDA certified organic seal, which means that it was harvested and sourced completely organically from a certified organic farm. So really, really cool. Just great across the board and really fantastic. All righty. And then moving on to the last thing that we are going to talk about, which is our cat hemp chews with CBD. Now, these are going to be chicken and salmon flavored, just because that is our most popular and requested formula across the board. So we put it into treat format, and it is picky eater approved. So it's really going to be great. CBG in general for cats is going to be fantastic, just because we found that they reacted best for that. We know that they need that added support, especially with that smooth muscle movement, because they're so prone to getting crystals and urinary tract infections and things like that. Not going to have that drowsy effect, and it's still going to help manage with stress, because we know that they can get stressed out very easily. Just really fantastic. And then it's going to have added probiotics in there because we know they needed that added digestion support. And one more thing that I really kind of want to talk about for this. So our chews for dog and cat are both flavored, but for our allergies, they do not contain any animal-based protein. So they are great for those sensitive pets that may have allergies to specific proteins. So safe across the board. All righty.
Okay, and our final poll question for the evening, after learning about the products, which one are you going to try with your pet first? Which one are you going to try first? CBD oil, CBD chews, CBG oil. So far, it seems like chews seem to be winning out, I guess, maybe for the convenience of being able to administer a chew, perhaps. I'm a huge fan of the CBG oil, I have to say. With 2 senior pets in my house, I've seen great benefit from using CBG on a daily basis.
Absolutely. Something else I want to talk about is that our products are also safe to be layered. I do CBG, the CBG oil for my dog as daily supplementation, just because she's got that lower activity level and doesn't need that calming effect on a daily basis. But she does freak out for things like fireworks, thunderstorms even, or she goes absolutely nuts when she goes to the vet. So that's when I layer in that CBD for that added level of support.
And it's safe to layer the mushroom and the hemp together, then it's not a concern.
No.
All right. Okay, well, that was our last poll question. Lexi, do you have anything to add before we start our questions, or Taylor, anything that you want to revisit in the presentation before we go into our questions?
I think we're good to hand this over to Emma.
Okay, great. Hi, Emma. All right. So our first question is from Dolores. She was using CBD, but got it from her vet because she was told that you have to be careful that you get a CBD that doesn't have any effect on the liver. Does CBD affect the liver?
Yeah. So there is, from what I understand, some newer research that CBD as a whole may have some impact on liver enzymes that help metabolize prescription drugs. Now, how you decipher what CBD would or wouldn't, I'm not quite sure, because as far as I am familiar with, all CBD is grown the same within that hemp plant. It may have to do with certain additives, but I'm not entirely sure. I can look more into that for you.
Okay. Speaking of processing, how is the CBD processed? Or, I know the plant is harvested, but then how is the CBD extracted from the hemp plant?
Sure. So our CBD is actually extracted using supercritical CO2 technology. So essentially, it's like this gas solvent that's used with a really precise temperature and pressure. And what it does is it pulls that CBD cannabinoid from the plant.
Okay. So there are other types of extraction methods, some that rely on ethanol, which the ethanol extraction sometimes can leave trace ethanol in the CBD. So it's a good question for if you're considering CBD to ask how the CBD has been extracted from the plant. If you know, obviously that's how Primal does it, CO2 extraction. But there are other methods as well. So there's a lot to learn when you're dealing with CBD.
Certainly.
Yep. Sue asks, do CBD products make pets drowsy?
They're not designed to. I think what I found with my dog in particular is that he is so hyperactive and anxious that when I administered the CBD to him, it didn't necessarily make him drowsy, but it certainly made him chill out. But they're not designed to like knock your pet out in any way.
And then Patricia asks, I have a 12-year-old three-legged pit bull. He is aged, and as he's aged, I've noticed his struggle in mobility. What product would be most beneficial for him?
For me, with an elderly pet, I would probably go with one of our CBD products. Since he is a little bit older, it would be my preference to do the chew just because I like to give them extra goodies throughout their day. And it is an incredibly palatable chew. So it's kind of a fun little extra cookie to give throughout the day.
Okay. If using the chews, Katie asks, if using the chews for a calming effect, how far before the event should they be given? That's a good question.
The most optimum time frame before an acute event is typically about 30 minutes to an hour. That is, of course, taking into consideration that your pet's ECS system has been built up to the point that it needs to be and can kind of overflow to give those additional calming benefits. Anywhere from about 30 minutes to an hour is typically safe.
Okay. Laura asks, my dog doesn't need anxiety support day to day. However, she's very afraid of strangers. And when people come to our house, would CBD oil be best for her since her anxiety is situational?
For situational things, I do actually still recommend giving daily support with an added extra layer on situational events. So when we can keep them at a calm, steady state, then if something extra stressful comes on, we can give an extra dose, or maybe we layer in something like a chew, that CBD chew, for that additional calming effect.
And then Dolores asks, Dolores was our first question about the liver. She's concerned because she has a senior pet that has an enlarged liver, plus heart and kidney issues as well.
I think that's a case that I would certainly work with your veterinarian. If you are using a CBD oil that is working for you already, absolutely stay on it. We're not necessarily here to promote Primal specifically. We really like to talk about the overarching effects of building up that endocannabinoid system. So if something's working for you, please feel free to stay on it. Otherwise, if your veterinarian wants to reach out to us to talk about what specifically we do and what safety measures we have in place, we'd be happy to answer any of those questions too.
And then Patricia asks, what kind of side effects will my dog have as I begin giving him CBD and CBG?
They really shouldn't have any side effects, which is the really cool part. The only potential thing that we do mention is if you give a little bit too much of the oil because it is suspended in a glycerin or a coconut oil. If your pet's not used to that extra additional fatty component, they may have a little bit of GI upset at first, but as they get used to it, you will notice no side effects, which is really awesome.
Okay. Dolores says, thank you. Kat asks, how would CBD interact with prescription anxiety medications for my cat?
Similarly to what I mentioned with Dolores, this is something I would certainly work with your veterinarian on. Many organizations recognize CBD and CBG products as being really well tolerated and safe, but it is something that you would want to make your veterinarian aware of just in case you are on any prescription medications with your pet.
And Jason is concerned that it might not be good long-term for his dog.
That's a really good question, and it's a really interesting thought. If you remember, Taylor at the beginning said that the endocannabinoid system in CBD and CBG as a whole has actually not been around or well known for all that long of the amount of time. But what I usually feel pretty comfortable talking about is that CBD and CBG come from a plant. They come from the earth, and typically even in extremely high doses are typically safe. So you're right, there is no long-term studies because CBD and CBG hasn't been around for all that long of amount of time if we're comparing it to other medications and things in the science world. But it is a natural supplement and nothing that is man-made.
Okay. And Armando asks, the reason why he chatted in why he hasn't started to use CBD or CBG for his pets is because he's unsure of the side effects and which brands to trust. So can you talk a little bit about what we should be looking for when we're looking and researching CBD brands?
Sure. So what Taylor and Lexi had talked about with that NASC seal on top of these, on any CBD or really any supplement product in general, that's going to be the highest sort of credential that a supplement product can receive in the pet industry. So what that NASC label says is this third-party organization that has nothing to do with a specific company. They actually go in, they see your manufacturing practices. You have to document and show them all of your spec sheets from where you're sourcing, where you're manufacturing, how you're producing, you name it, all the safety measures that are in place. So when I'm looking for supplements for my own pet, that is something that I absolutely go in and look for. I make sure that any product has that NASC seal. But I also like to see that on a hemp product in particular, that I can see the different testing that has been done. So on Primal's packaging, which is really convenient, is we have a scannable QR code. I know that since COVID, we're all really familiar with how those scannable QR code menus work. It's pretty similar with our bottles. You just hold your phone camera up to it, and it'll actually pull up the testing results for that specific bottle. So it'll talk about what cannabinoids are in there, their concentration. It'll talk about residual solvents, heavy metal testing, and all of that is on every single package.
Okay. All right. And let's see if we have some more questions. Okay. Why are mushrooms mixed into CBD? Sue is asking.
So we add the mushrooms into the CBD blend specifically because we like to differentiate things a little bit. So we know that our CBG is great for GI support and urinary support. CBD, we like to target a little bit more for that immune support. Those medicinal mushrooms that are added in there are really well known for their antioxidant, antibacterial, antifungal properties. So that additional layer of immune support that has virtually no taste for the pet is a really easy way to add those ingredients in on top of that CBD product.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about the mushrooms and why those particular mushrooms were chosen to be blended in?
Sure. So we add in the turkey tail, the mesema, the poria, shiitake, and reishi mushrooms. So the reason that we selected that specific curated 5 mushroom blend is because each one has a really kind of specific benefit to it. So turkey tail has a ton of antioxidants in it, for example, so really great for helping clear out the free radicals in your pet's body, really kind of bringing it back to that neutral homeostatic basis. We talk about things like shiitake. It's got a lot of great minerals in it. So we talk about like copper for bone support. They all have a pretty specific benefit to them. And all of them have been really well researched, which is another reason we chose that specific blend.
Okay. Very good. And I am just going to double check to see if we have any more questions on the chat end. M asks, how do you administer the oils?
Good question. So for Primal's products, what I really like about the oils is they go through a nanoemulsion process. And basically what that is, like on the very general basis, is that all of the molecules in there are broken down really, really, really tiny. So they're able to be absorbed in any format. So like Lexi said, sometimes she'll use that oil and she'll just mix it on top of her pet's food. My dog is a crazy nut. I literally drop it in my hand and he licks it out of my hand. Some pet parents are really brave and like actually squirt it in their pet's mouth. But with Primal products, the bioavailability is really superior and you could administer it any way that makes sense for you.
Okay. Would you recommend the oils or the chews for what is most rapidly absorbed, I guess, is the question. What's most rapidly absorbed into the system, a chew or an oil?
Definitely the oils are a little bit faster acting, only because they are absorbed directly into those membranes, where sometimes those chews have to go through that digestive process. And if your pet has food in their belly, your pet's GI system is certainly not targeting the CBD, although I wish it would.
Okay. All right. Sue asks, do your oil product bottles give guidance on dosage for dog weight?
Yes, they absolutely do. So they are color coded for the general size of pet, but they also do give specific dosing recommendations for weights within that size category.
Okay. And then how long do the oils last once the bottle is open?
If you keep it in a cool, dry place, which is what we typically recommend, I just go ahead and put mine right back in the pantry when I'm done administering it. It's good for about a year or until that expiration date.
Okay. And M asks, can you rub the oil on the bottom of their paws?
Our product is not designed to be a transdermal product, so it's not. Our oils are not designed to work to go through the skin. That's not to say that you can't do it. You just might not see your desired effects with putting it right on top of their skin.
Okay. Going back to Sue's question about dosing by weight, are there multiple guidelines on the bottle? So if you, from a cost perspective, would you recommend somebody, if they have a dog that's in between a medium and a large dog, get the large one and just get the large and then just dose a little bit less? Is there guidance for that?
There is guidance for that. You're absolutely right, though. I typically recommend the same thing. If you're right on the kind of in-between teetering line, I typically size up. You can use a little bit less product, and that bottle will last you a little bit longer.
And as someone who uses CBD with 3 dogs in the house, I usually buy I size up and dose down so that the bottle lasts a little longer for 3 dogs. So, okay. And let's see if we have another question in the chat. No, those are the questions that we've had this evening. We had a lot of questions, which is great.
Thank you guys.
If I'll give another minute if anybody has another question and they want to chat in real quick. We'll have Emma for another minute or two, and Taylor and Lexi. And let me see if we're getting any more questions in.
Yeah, something else I want to add that I didn't throw out here at the beginning is for those of you who know Primal as a brand, if you go to our primalpetfoods.com website, you will not find our supplements. It is kept completely separate from our pet foods. So you do have to visit primalpets.com to see our whole line. For if you happen to throw away the packaging and you still want to pull up the lot and their testing results, anything like that, that'll all be on the primalpets.com website. There's even blogs you can check out that dive deeper on the information. So if you forget what the endocannabinoid system is and how it works, there's a blog on that website for you. Why daily supplementation is important, differences between CBD and CBG, all of that is provided on our website as well.
Okay. And those are all our questions for this evening. I want to thank Emma, Taylor, and Lexi for enlightening us tonight and teaching us more about CBD and CBG. And, CBG is the newcomer pretty much to, the pet supplement market. And it has some really great benefits, especially for our senior pets and as a parent to pretty advanced senior pets. Anything that we can do to help improve the quality of their final years with us is a godsend. So everybody, thank you very much. Thank you everybody for participating this evening. We appreciate it on this rainy, stormy night, that you would take about an hour and spend it with us. We look forward to seeing you soon. And Taylor, Lexi, Emma, thank you very, very much for your time this evening. Everybody have a great night. In a couple of weeks, we have CB Pet Market has another webinar on puppy parenting. So please look for that in your emails. And thank you all and have a pleasant evening. Good night, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.